Welcome to Coffee Powered Systems, equipping women with actionable steps to overcome overwhelm and streamline business and life. So grab your favorite drink and come hang out with me. I'm your host, Miranda Merton. Welcome back to Coffee Powered Systems. I'm your host, Miranda, and today I have another special guest with me. I'm talking to Isabella Sanchez Castañeda, and she is a content strategist for service-based businesses looking to get seen so they can get paid. Isabella, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. This is my first podcast interview, so I'm ready.
Yes, I love it. I am so happy to talk to you today because I feel like content creation is one of those things that we all have like a love-hate relationship with. It's like we know we have to do it, and some people are really great at it, and some people are just like, it's like pulling teeth, right? And a lot of people tend to run away from content creation, but you ran right into it. Did you go into a corporate position after you graduated, or did you jump right into the entrepreneurial pond?
Yeah, so I graduated May 2020, like smack in the middle of the pandemic, and I was very fortunate to get a corporate job right off the bat. And it was actually in journalism, which is what I thought was my dream career for forever. And I got to be a digital editor for a regional magazine. And my job ended up being almost 85% social media and SEO, website, YouTube. It was everything that we do on a day-to-day as business owners now. That's what I was doing over there. And it was okay. As many of us, we know the corporate grind and we know the things that come up that may not be the most aligned. And so I started looking for new things to do and take the skills that I had learned there. I had learned, I've been doing social media for a nonprofit for a long time. And I was like, I'm ready. I love content. I think we're all just natural content creators, even if we don't think we are. Every day we're putting out something. And so I also think we're all influencers. I know people have a big hubbubaloo about that, but we're all influencers. Every time your friend asks you for a book recommendation, every time someone asks you where you get your shoes from, you are influencing someone. So I love helping business owners get to do that.
Very true. I love that. We are all influencers in our own way, right? And there are a ton of places that we can show up on the internet. And like we have our tried and true places that don't seem like they're going anywhere, like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And then we have like the pop-ups and the new platforms. So how do you know where to spend your time? Because although I don't think you need to be everywhere, I'm not Gary Vee. I'm not trying to be on every single platform when it comes out. There are people who think differently about that. So what's your take on it?
I think there is something to be said for healthy experimentation, but always have your one or two platforms that are like your strongest base. So I know for you, that's your podcast. For me, it's Instagram. Right now, I am starting to put out more content on YouTube. But that is like where you will always find me. And so first have the place where people can go and say, that is where Isa is going to be. It's the place that you're most going to send people to when you meet them or when you're at a conference. And then experiment. So one place that I experiment often with is TikTok. And so I'm on TikTok every once in a while. I do kind of like, I call them month-long sprints where I'll post every day, but then I took a hiatus because I was launching and I knew that my launch was going to be a lot stronger on Instagram. And so do what you can on other platforms, but have your base, your home base, where you can always be found.
Yeah. And do you experiment as well? So if you're going on TikTok, are you experimenting with things like Reels and comparing and contrasting how they work for you?
Yes. So I love the comparison between TikTok and Reels because even though they're the same format, the culture is so different. And I really had to adjust. So when I jumped into the Instagram game, I actually started my page with 28 days of reels. And this was back in February. And it was like my everything. I created an offer around it. I love reels. But when you go on TikTok, it's a lot less curated. It's a lot more people speaking directly to the camera. It's a lot more controversial hot takes than you're maybe used to. And they, you know, their style of short form video has been around a little longer. So they just have that edge. But it allowed me to then repurpose. It allowed me, sometimes I wouldn't put up my TikTok as a reel on Instagram, but I would put it in my story because I knew it was going to be more of a conversation starter. And that experimentation just lets you know that you can repurpose. You just have to repurpose with intention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So when I talk to business owners, the same pain points always come up for them. It's like they're either overwhelmed by doing all the things or all the content creation. They're confused, whether it's like which platforms to post on or the when, what, where, how, and why. So I'm all about action steps and moving forward. So can you walk us through the process of creating a system for content creation in order to be more consistent, yet still keeping it fun?
So before we dive into specifics, I just want to say, give yourself permission to create your own system. So often we see all the content calendar freebies and we see the templates and we see the flows, and they may not work for us, especially if you are someone who considers yourself a lot more creative or a lot more free flowing. This structure may not be ideal. And just because it works for, say, I love following Monty Woodard, and I know that he puts out 3 pieces of content every single day. His system is insane, but it's also because he has a team.
Right.
And so I saw his system and I was like, oh, I want to plug and play. And then I was like, that's unrealistic for me. So give yourself permission to be flexible, to take things and tweak them as you want. So I remember a couple months ago, I really wanted to put everything in ClickUp. I thought that ClickUp was going to be the game changer, and I was like obsessed. But then to me, it felt, because I am a solopreneur, it took so much more effort to like go into the ClickUp app and try to put everything in there instead of just going into my notes app. So now I know I have a section in my notes app. You can create little folders, and I put my captions in there, and I have my graphics and everything. So I've created a different flow that just works for myself. So I can break down a little bit of that. Is I do all my content ideation and just like brainstorming and putting everything like that in Airtable. And I like having it in the spreadsheet format. That's what I use with my clients as well, just because it's so easy to see it in a calendar view. You can move things around a lot more quickly. But from there, I usually will then take it and say, okay, is this going to be filmed? Is this going to be a carousel, Canva graphic photo, whatever, and go. And usually there, I'm not super rigid. Sometimes I'm feeling the creativity of that caption. Like last night, I knew that I needed a post for tomorrow, and I looked at my Airtable and I just like kind of riffed in my notes. And I was like, oh, that feels good. And I'll edit it before it goes out, but it felt good to just do it on my phone. And then I'll go into Canva and do the graphic that goes with it. But it's all very, I want to say intuitive, just because when I try to force myself into the Airtable box or the ClickUp box, or I have to do everything in Google Doc because it needs to be so organized, I end up putting out content that I don't love. And I know that that's what a lot of business owners are doing, is trying to fit themselves into systems and flows that aren't intuitive to who they are.
Yeah, I agree with that. Especially, I love that you said that, you do just pull out your notes app. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to put this in Notion, and then I'm going to put this over here in Trello, and then step by step, especially if you're just may be different if you are having a team, or, you're like Pat Flynn, for instance, he's got a whole team. He's doing all the things, got the spreadsheets. Do what works for you as well. And you're right, it'll be a little more intuitive. That keeps it fun and fresh. You said actually probably a couple of weeks ago on your Instagram, you posted and you said, stop letting strangers on the internet bully you into doing things you hate. And this resonated so hard. And I want you to go ahead and talk a little bit more about that statement, because I think a lot of people need to hear it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you saw that and that you brought that up. So that was one of those posts where I was riffing in my notes. Like I heard somebody say something and I was like, I hate that. Why are people doing that? And so that was a very intuitive post for me. And no, it's just that as business owners, especially in the Instagram space, it's not normal to be receiving this much information and feedback every 10 seconds as you like push up and you see something and everybody has an opinion. Everyone's trying to sell to you. Everyone is just trying to get you to feel like there's something a little bit wrong with your business and they're the only people that can fix it. Mm-hmm. And I understand that's marketing, right? Like that's part of what we do is to try to get people to be problem aware. And after they're problem aware, we're the solution.
Yeah.
But I had so many people coming to me telling me that they felt like they had to post 7 days a week because so-and-so said so, because this other person told them that in their group coaching program, if they didn't have this offer on Evergreen, that they weren't a real business owner. Or the one that always gets me is, I'm not making 10K months, so I'm a failure. And I'm like, how many of us really honestly were making 10K months in corporate? I know I was not at all. And so all of that, like all of these messages that we're being bombarded with every day is like bullying, is it's telling us you're not good enough, you're not doing enough, you need this, you need that. And it's just all the strangers on the internet who are trying to get to you. So I appreciate you brought that up, because often we just need that perspective to like take a step back and be like, do I think I'm failing? I don't think so. I thought I was doing pretty well until I saw, Susie's post that called me a failure for not making 10K months. Yeah. But in reality, she was just trying to get me to buy her group program and get the upgrades. And so kind of having that room to just be like, she's a stranger on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And those strangers on the internet are at a different spot than we are, right? So Susie K, who's making 10K months plus, she's probably 10 years in business, was failing, but we didn't see her failures. Not everybody's not posting their, oh, I just launched a product to crickets, or it sold $1,000. We don't see those. We're like, oh, my product just sold $97,000 for my launch. Nobody's telling us five people bought my stuff.
Yeah. And some people are really lying to you. Like, not everyone. I don't want to say that people are scamming us. Majority of people are being honest and doing their best, but there are some people who come on. I know everybody does this during their launch and goes, there's only 2 spots left. And then you do sign up for your program and you were like, oh, so there were only 2 spots in total because there's only 2 people here. And so when I get it, and a lot of times they're doing that with the best of intentions because a business coach told them that scarcity sells and et cetera, et cetera. But sometimes they're not giving you the full picture. And they're twisting things in a certain way, and you're left on the other side of the screen like, oh no, my program doesn't have 2 spots left. My program has 20 spots and I've only gotten 1 inquiry. So always taking grain of salt, having those conversations with business friends, those candid conversations, being like, hey, what was this like for you? What is the failure you've had? And just understanding that everyone is just trying their best and feeling the same thing of like, oh my goodness, I can't make Susie's 10K months.
Right. And a lot of it is marketing. Like you mentioned, the scarcity stuff, but I'm like, just do what feels good and just tell the truth, right? Sometimes you get the emails after the cart has closed. It's like, oh, I had so many people telling me, oh, I missed the cart close. Can you reopen it? And then, that email was already scheduled a week ago.
Absolutely.
I'm just like, I've been in the game. I know what this is.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm all about just do what feels good, flow, and tell the truth to people, So after we've got all of our content strategy down and we know like we're on a system, what are the metrics that we should be looking at? What are some performance indicators that we should be keeping track of?
I love this. So I think my number one, if you are using a short platform like Instagram or Twitter or something like that, is the conversations that started because of it. Whether that's conversations that started in a comment or conversations in your DMs. Because even if it's only one or two people, but they felt so compelled that they took the extra step to actually type words onto their phone, aside from that double tap, you know, it sparked something. And I do want to be clear, it's not like those spam people who come in and they're like, love this.
Yes.
No, not like that. But the ones who are like, wow, this resonated with me. Anytime someone took the time to communicate that to you, it means that you're speaking to that ideal audience because they felt seen in some way. And so pay attention to those conversation starters, especially in the beginning, where you might not have thousands of followers. You're just trying your best every day. And so if somebody goes out of their way to say, I felt seen, I appreciate this, I love that you said that, I want to know more, you're on the right track. Later on, as you are using more call to actions that are specific, like sign up to my email list or watch my YouTube video, or the one that we love, go to my sales page, then we want to start looking at how many people are taking that action from your post. So they're going to your profile and then looking at your website. Or I love doing this, is saying like, send me a DM with the word VIP. If you want to book a VIP day with me, how many people took that extra step? Because it means that people are listening. They're going all the way to the bottom of your post and reading your call to action and everything like that. So definitely, are they kind of listening to what you're saying? Because we don't do extra things. We don't take extra steps for people that aren't connecting with us.
Exactly.
We take those steps as they go further along. So definitely conversation starters and website clicks are the two that I focus on the absolute most. I try to leave the likes aside, just because there are so many different things that you could be doing to get those likes, but it doesn't mean that the people liking it are your ideal clients. And I love, this was an advice that I got from Vivaciously Marina and the Vogue Guide. Marina and Viv told me very early on in my entrepreneurship, they said, the lurkers are the ones that pay you. And people who have like money to do your high ticket offers are not on Instagram for hours and hours and hours, liking things, saving things, sharing them. They instead will go on your profile. They'll lurk. They're going to stalk you. They're going to look at everything. And then that website click is going to come through, or that DM is going to come through that says, hey, I like what you're doing. I want to work with you. So if you're not getting all the likes, you're not getting all the shares, it's okay. There's some lurkers out there ready for their moment to work with you.
That's great too, because especially in the beginning, you're not going to get all the likes and the shares and the views. There might have been 2 people on your live or 5 people watched your video. So that's a great indicator, is people reaching out. I love that. So once we know that video is here, it's where it's at. And so if we're not doing video, then we should have it as part of our content plan in the near future. So what's your favorite tip you've learned along the way to better be confident in doing video as part of social strategy?
Yeah. I love the tip to stand up while you're doing your videos, especially live videos, because it opens you up. So as we're nervous, our shoulders start to hunch and our breath gets more shallow. As you're standing, you just have more room. You might be able to kind of sway a little bit. I mean, don't like overdo it, but you have a little more room to, if you are feeling nervous, like the bottom half of your body can move and people don't notice as much. But more than anything, it's that breathing. So stand up for those first couple of videos. And I don't know if you've seen that TED Talk, but power pose a little bit, like widen your stance, your superwoman while you're on live or while you're on YouTube, whatever it is, and just, put yourself out there like the expert that you truly are.
Yeah, you just got to do it, basically. And one of the best strategies that I know is utilizing your video and your content to repurpose it later.
Mm-hmm.
And even though many people know what it is and what they should be doing, it's still kind of overwhelming, especially in the beginning when you're trying to figure out how to break things apart, where to put it, what to do. Do you have a strategy for repurposing that you could like guide us through?
Yes, I love this. I have my little flow for repurposing. So always go from your longest form content, whether that's your podcast, your video, or maybe a blog. And then from there, you usually made an outline for one of those pieces, right? So take that outline and you can easily make that into a carousel. So if you don't want to go from video straight to video, you can go video to carousel. You can go video to tease it in an email, and get people to watch the full thing by just teasing a little snippet. Say, are you really wondering about this? Or you've been struggling with this and I heard you, so I created this for you. And then you kind of go a little longer. The girls love their quote graphics. So instead of pulling a quote graphic from Pinterest, let's pull a quote from something that you said, because it's going to be in your voice. It's going to resonate more. So maybe you said something where it was alive and somebody in there said, oh yes, put the praise hands, put the emojis, everything. Pay attention to that moment. Take that sentence and put it in a quote graphic. If it was really juicy, especially the way you said it, screen record or cut that little piece, and that can be a reel. And you can just keep doing that. And it can be in your story, can be in your email, it can go onto a different platform, whatever it is. And you can spread it out. I think people are afraid of repurposing because they fear that they're going to get repetitive. Yeah. But in reality, not every single one of your followers is seeing every single one of your posts. They're not reading every single one of your emails. So taking snippets, taking little bits, you never know if like the third time you put it out is the time that people say, oh, this is the time it really hit. This is the time I needed it.
Yeah. Because a lot of times you need to hear things multiple times. Because think of how many times we've heard people say things over and over again, the same thing. You know, you'll be like, oh, I heard Marie Forleo say that. I heard Glennon Doyle say it. Everybody's saying the same stuff, but the one time that you need it, it's going to resonate. And that person that said it, it's going to come through for them. And it's going to come through for you. So,
and it might just be the way that the person said it,
yeah,
or the way that the person who said it looks, or the way that their life experience matches yours. Because sometimes when Gary Vee says something, I immediately think, oh, that's not for me. I don't have a 40-person team like Gary Vee.
Yeah.
But if another solopreneur says the exact same thing, I believe them a little more because I'm like, oh, she's in my spot. So it can be like that. I don't believe that there's ever anything 100% original. It's just said in the way that only you can say it. And that's the unique part.
Yeah. It's all repurposed.
Exactly.
And so, Isa, what are some of your favorite tools right now that you're using for content creation and implementation? We know we heard a little bit about ClickUp and Airtable, or you tried ClickUp, wasn't for you, but we heard about Airtable. What are some other things you use, whether creating live video, things like that?
So definitely want to emphasize Airtable. I think it's one of the most intuitive, and I'm not a big Excel girl, but I do love Airtable, just the way that you can organize, label things. I make sure that I have a column that is my content pillars, but separately I add a column that says purpose. So every single one of my posts has to have a purpose, whether that is to build connection, whether that is to promote my service, build my email list. I put it there intentionally so that I'm never putting out content that's fluff. If it's going to be fluff, take the day off, take some time. Instagram will be there tomorrow. You'll be okay. But having that purpose column in Airtable for sure. Then I do love my notes app. I think that if you are a solopreneur, there's nothing like having something in your pocket where that idea strikes and you can write it in. Remove all the resistance by, imagine if you have to log into your Google Drive and the password's not working and now you lost the idea. Remove the resistance. So I love my notes app. For video specifically, InShot on my phone is how I edit my reels, how I edit my YouTube videos, how I edit everything. I am just from college, like I know how to use Adobe Premiere Pro like the back of my hand. It's too much to take the video, upload it to my computer, edit it on there, download it. That was too much resistance for me.
Yeah.
So InShot is what it is for now. It doesn't have to be fancy. I think kind of like what we were talking about before, when you see this big stranger on the internet and they say, well, I use Adobe Premiere and I have an editor that puts in this many graphics into every single video. And you start thinking, well, I have to do that. But if that's going to be the reason you don't put out a video at all, go for the free apps. InShot is free. You can pay for upgrades. You don't need them right away. Same thing with if you're someone who's going to start a podcast, Zoom, go for Zoom. There's an app on your phone. I think it's called Wave. I can pull it up because I do really, really love it. And it's called Twisted Wave. And so maybe you want to use Twisted Wave and upload to Anchor from your phone. Do that. I'm all about keeping it simple. And then I don't use any sort of scheduler, but I do use Feed Preview on my phone. It's different than the Preview app. I know that they get confused a lot, but Feed Preview, you never have to put in your password. So I really appreciate that, and just like not having to give out more information than I need to.
Yeah. Awesome. And I love the resistance piece, because that's usually where people stop, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to create the content. I'm going to do the thing. And so-and-so said, I need to use this tool, so I'm going to use it. And then they get confused and they're like, oh my God, I don't know how to work this. And then they put it away, and it's so easy to not go back to it because you're confused, you're overwhelmed. You just don't know where to go from that. So keeping it simple, perfect.
Yes. And keeping it also where you have to know your own time management skills. So I'm not the girl to teach you time management, but I am the person to teach you how to maximize every free minute. So if you are, and that's why I like to keep everything on my phone. I know I mentioned a lot of things that are direct to the iPhone like app store, is because if I'm waiting in line at the grocery store and it's going to take me forever, I pull out my notes app and I start thinking, you know what? I know I have that caption for tomorrow. Or I go into my InShot and I tweak the text a little bit, and I can do that all from my phone and take advantage of those downtime moments where in reality, I was probably going to go scroll TikTok. And if you're someone who's like that, who's a little more sporadic, you like to jump from task to task, make it as easy as possible to do that. I know everyone loves to time block, but just because you can't dedicate 2 hours to doing a task from start to finish doesn't mean that the 5-minute chunks won't get you there. And I'm all about maximizing the 5-minute little quick jumps, and you can edit on Canva, you can put in whatever you need. So take advantage of those little moments.
Perfect. And before we wrap up, I would love to know about your content pillars, how you structure those, and if you're pulling, your ideas from content pillars as you go, or if it's more, organized. How are you doing that?
I'll talk about how I do it for clients, because as we know, we're all great at helping other people, and then ours is like, don't look back there. Because I tweak my own personal content pillars a lot, but for clients, it's usually it's going to come from the questionnaire or the conversation that I have with them. I always have a personal connection pillar. And that is, it doesn't have to mean exposing your entire life on the internet, but it has to be what makes you so qualified. And I don't mean the degrees or the certifications, but tell me about, I was working with a photographer. Tell me about the first time that you picked up a camera. Tell me about the first time that you edited a photo and felt amazing about it. That connection pillar is going to be one of the biggest differentiations for you. And it just makes people feel like you're their best friend. Then another pillar that's pretty related is your differentiation or thought leadership pillar. And that's going to be where I ask you to push the envelope. Tell me the things that you don't agree with in your industry. Tell me the things that you are adamant about that you need your clients to believe. Because if they're not, like, for example, if you are coming to me for hashtag strategy, you're coming to the wrong girl. I know that's been a big conversation on Instagram right now. And so I actively talk about how I don't think that hashtags are all that important. Other people might, lose their head about it, but that's part of my thought leadership and differentiation pillar. Then the other ones are a lot more industry specific. So talk about your specific specialty. Again, going off of the photographer example, she loves to use props. So we actually have a whole pillar about props and equipment. We have another pillar about posing and how she makes people feel comfortable. And all of those things are a lot more related to the action that she takes with a client. I think you should be showing your process. You should be very transparent about how you work with people, because that's going to build so much trust. And going for about 4 to 5 pillars max. 4 is usually that sweet spot. And it just lets you have a lot of creativity within a pretty structured container. I don't want to say box, but container.
Awesome. I wanted to wrap up. I see that you have a content VIP day. And can you tell us a little bit about it, what you're working on, and also finish up with how we can connect with you?
Yeah, I love my content VIP. I love working with people in my content VIP days. So what we do is we get together, and first and foremost, we hone in on the ideal client. And I do that through a game of Would You Rather. So I had a book when I was growing up in middle school called Coke or Pepsi. And it was you had to check off, and you would go around with your friends and be like, Coke or Pepsi, a skirt or a dress, And I love it. And I do kind of a business version of that with clients. And I think that you need to know a lot about your clients, like what makes them tick, what things they don't like. Are they into personality tests? If they're into personality tests, you have a whole arena of content, of memes, of silly things that you can put out that they're going to die for. I love an astrology meme. And so we do that first and foremost. We have a lot of fun with the Would You Rather. Then we go into those content pillars, because the content pillars have to be very related to what is going to resonate with them, as we were talking about before. And then we plan 90 days of content in Airtable. We get all the juicy ideas out. We put a purpose next to each one of them. And then you have that for a full 3 months, a full quarter. And all of it is very easily repurposed as well. So then you can extend that for another couple months. You can always come back for a tune-up, but it's just so nice to feel like you don't have to wake up every day and guess. You don't have to wake up and say, what am I going to post? Is it going to be aligned? Does it have a purpose? Is it in one of my pillars? Is this what I want to promote right now? You don't have to ask yourself any more of those questions, because we ask them during the VIP day, and it's in Airtable, my favorite. And you just go and say, okay, I know what today is. It's been so exciting. And it's very customized. I don't believe in one size fits all. I don't believe in caption templates, because then you sound like everyone else, and that's not what we're here to do. So those are the VIP days. You can connect with me at Isa Media Inc., ISA Media Inc. on Instagram. I'm on YouTube, and I've been loving YouTube. I have another video today. And yeah, I'm always down for a DM and just any questions you might have.
Awesome. Well, I will drop all of those links in the show notes and make sure people know where to connect with you. Definitely gonna get up on that VIP day, because it sounds awesome. Especially, I'm gonna pick one up sometime down the road. I need some content VIP in my life. So definitely connect with Isa on her VIP day. And that is all we have for today. We will see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Coffee Powered Systems. You can find links to everything mentioned in the episode down in the show notes or on the website at mirandamerton.com. If you enjoyed this episode, rate and review it in iTunes or where you enjoy listening so others can find it too. And join me here next time.